Who would have ever thought that somebody like that would have been summoned to the White House to minister to the president as he fell into indiscretions in the former administration? Who would have thought that somebody like that would not only be blessed to stand there in that situation, but summoned to the White House in this current administration after 9/11? Before he went to minister to Congress, a small quorum, a handful of ministers brought in to pray with the president over the state of the nation. Never would have thought that. Never would have thought that somebody who marveled at the chance to speak on TBN would be summoned after 9/11 to be on call for CNN and to pray for the nation as we dealt with the tragedies and adversities at hand. And I think that I have some moral responsibility to say something of significance to you other than religious fodder and fantasia and spiritual colloquialisms to impress and tantalize your systems. I think I should say something of substance to you. And so it is in the spirit of the gross wealth of the rich experiences, some good, some bad, some right, some wrong, some weak, some strong, that I come to you today to tell you that we are in trouble. We are in real trouble. Some 12, 13 years ago, I wrote a book to women because I knew that there was a crisis going on with women, and I wrote a book called Woman Thou Art Loose that nobody wanted to publish. I had to publish it off my own money, empty out my bank account to write this book because I so believe that women deserve the respect to acknowledge the trauma and the pain that they've been through. Woman Thou Art Loose. And I got 5,000 copies and sold out in 2 weeks, and got 5,000 more copies and sold out in 2 weeks. And that book has now sold over 2 million copies. I don't have any trouble getting a publisher now. And I think it was important to say to woman thou art loose. But I want to say something to my sisters, and I want you to understand me well. The enemy does want to bind you. He does want to bind you. But I want to tell you something, sisters. The enemy really isn't after you. He really isn't after you. He wants to bind you, but he doesn't have to worry about killing you. You remember when David came down to Ziklag and the women were taken into captivity and the men had to go get the women and get them out. David was really the first one to preach Woman Thou Art Loose when he brought those women out of captivity, encouraged himself in the Lord and saw them transform. That was Woman Thou Art Loose. They didn't kill the women, they trapped them. And all through the Bible talks about women being trapped, talks about silly women being trapped, because the enemy wants to trap women, but he wants to kill men. So to the woman, we are talking about Woman Thou Art Loose, but when it comes to the man, we are fighting for our lives because the devil wants to kill men. You know why? I want you to understand what's going on, sister. The enemy knows that if he kills your man, or your son, or your father, he doesn't have to kill you. You'll spend the rest of your life with your heart broken over who fell apart, who didn't love you, who didn't raise you, who didn't turn out like you thought, who wasn't there for you. He'll break your heart with what he does to your son and what happened to your father or what happened to your husband or your boyfriend, and he'll break your back as you carry weight that you were never built to carry because you had no man to stand by your side. And he'll seek to terminate and destroy the life of men because he knows he gets 2 for 1. When he gets a man, he gets you too. That's why in the book, in the Bible, it talks about in the King James Version to destroy everyone that pisses against the wall. It means to destroy everything that stands up when it urinates. The devil is after men. That's why when Moses was born, there was a decree made by Pharaoh to destroy every male child under 2 years old. He didn't wait till they got old. He started out early wanting to kill them lest they become kings and giants and enter into their destiny. Men are on the hit list of hell. That's why when the baby Jesus was born, Joseph had to take him down into Egypt and hide him for 2 years because Satan had a contract out for men and he was willing to kill every male child until he got to that child, because the prophecy in the book of Genesis said that the seed of the woman would rise up and bruise the head of the seed of the serpent. my sister, he's not after you, he's after your seed. Well, what seed does the woman have? The woman's seed is her son. The prophecy is in the male child. The Hebrew word zerah. He wants to kill your seed, your son, your father, the masculine voice in your house, until it becomes strange to your daughter to hear a man's voice in the house. So she'll be so desperate for the voice of a man or the touch of a man that the only man who ever touched her was the man who was laying on top of her. He's after the male child. That's why male children die of crib death more readily than women. More male stillborns than female. I don't just have to stay in the spirit, we can go in the natural. Our male baby boys die more readily at early ages, contract more diseases than their female counterparts. Hear me good. I've spent a year and a half in the face of God so that you would understand something. That's why insurance companies are predisposed to expect the man to die. They expect it so well that when a pastor builds a church, they want a key man policy on him. So if he terminates his life, the bill will still be paid. They expect him to die because he's a man, and that's what men do. They die. They expect it so well that they're advising women to have a plan because you outlive us by 10 to 15 years. We die. That's what we do. We die. We die with our backs bent over and our heads and our hearts broken, stressed out, wounded and hurting, trying to figure out what in the world happened to the dream we had. That's why when we were doing this project, I got and sat down with the writers of the music. I sat down with them myself, and I pumped their head with the word to make sure that the lyrics of the song spoke to the issues at hand. So that when there is a man who fights through all that we have to fight through to stay with the woman and with her child, we write something that says, thanks for staying, because it is difficult for a man to stay in a situation that he has never seen anybody stay in before. I'm not saying you're not a great woman. I'm not saying you're not a great wife. I'm not saying you're not a great mother. But it is difficult for a man to play a role in a house that he has never seen acted out in all of his life. And somewhere along the way, every man in this room has wanted to quit. And if he stayed, whether he took out the trash or not, and if he stayed, whether he got his degree or not, and if he stayed, and whether he's everything you want him to be or not, you owe it to him to tip your hat and say, thanks for staying. Because a good man is so hunted by Satan and sickness and diseases and heart attacks and cancers and curses and AIDS and infections and rejections and perversions that a good man is almost extinct. Time out for hunting men, devil. You have almost destroyed an entire generation. We have got to fight back. I was talking to my son. I was shaving in the mirror, and I was trying to be discreet. My youngest son, I have 3 sons. My youngest son was then about 8 years old, and I talk about this in the book if you've read it already. Forgive me for being redundant, but I was shaving, you know, and I didn't want him to see where I kept the razors because he is so precocious and so rambunctious and so ready to take on manhood that I was afraid that he'd come in the bathroom when I wasn't there and scrape his skin trying to do what he saw me do. I understand that the razor will one day be a blessing to him, but isn't it funny how something that will later be a blessing can be a curse if you get it too soon? If you're waiting on me to preach, I'm preaching right now. So I was trying to hide it from him. Not that I didn't want him to have it, but I didn't want him to have it too soon. And there are some things, men, that God has hidden from you, because he knew had he given it to you when you wanted it, it would have killed you, and you'd have scraped your skin trying to get it. And God had to prepare you and get you ready for what he's about to give you now, because had he given it to you then, you would have destroyed yourself with it. Anyway, while I was standing there and he's looking in the mirror at me shave, and I'm looking at the mirror at him with shaving foam hanging off of my face, I stopped shaving and I stared in the mirror looking at my son who's standing next to me, and he's looking in the mirror at me. And when I looked at the mirror and I saw him, I saw what I was. And when he looked in the mirror and saw me, he saw what he would become. And we were mesmerized, looking at what time would do and undo between us. Carries my name, walks with my frame, has developed my terminologies, my phraseologies, my concepts, and my ideas. He is what I was a flash ago. He'll blink his eyes and his face will wrinkle and his hair turn gray. And he's just one flash from me, a blink of time. And all we have is this one fleeting moment together. And my heart grieved for all the sons around the world who look into mirrors and see no fathers looking back at them. For you must understand that a father is a guide to a boy. He announces to a boy what he will become. He explains to him how to chart your course through the chaos of masculinity to arrive at the destination that you have in view. And without a father there, no matter how great and wonderful the mother is, it is a liability to a son not to have a father, because there are some things that mama cannot teach you. And I grieve for all the sons who never had a father to help them through the maze of masculinity. And may I pause just a moment and explain to women something that you probably never hear men say, because some men are not articulate enough to say it, some are not thoughtful enough to speak it, and most are too private to admit it. But it is real hard to be a man. Now, you have a whole lot of materials and information that undergirds the challenges you go through, and I'm not minimizing what you go through at all, because you go through a whole lot. But just let me tell you, just so that you will know, since you have never spent not one day as a man, let me inform you quite clearly and emphatically that it is hard to be a man. That's why most give up on it, most quit, most faint from it, most fall because of it, and almost all of us die trying to do it. Oh yes, the devil is out to destroy men. If you look around this room, you will find many sage-aged gray women. Go to your family reunions and you will see grandmama and big mama and Aunt Kivy, and they're all standing around in the kitchen talking about, girl, is that chicken done yet? I don't know, mama, let me turn it over in a minute. Get that bread out the oven before it burns. But have you ever asked yourself, where are Grandpapa and Big Papa and Uncle Willie? What happened to Cousin James? What is wrong with our generation that there are few old men left? That means we have few compasses to chart the course and to lead us through the maze of trying to get to our destination on time. We have many men who model to us how to get started, but few that live long enough to show us how to finish. Show us how to make it through the different ages and stages of life, because the challenges of a 20-year-old is far different from the challenges of a 50-year-old, is far different from the challenges of a 70-year-old, and you need somebody who's been there to coach you through the process and look you in the mirror and say, keep coming, boy, don't give up now. I know you lost your job, but keep on coming, keep on, you can do this, don't give up, come on, boy, come on, come on, I know your feelings is hurt, come on, come on, come on, come on. No, you're not going to be able to do what you used to do 20 years ago. You're not supposed supposed to. You're gonna have to readjust and develop a new normal. Come on, come on, come on. If you come on, you're gonna get through this. Don't give up. Don't follow her. Don't follow her. She's not the answer. She's a trick. Keep coming this way. We don't